Yeah, apparently. So, g'day guys, how you going? It is Andrew here. Of course, it's Neil over there. I'm pointing the right direction. Get this camera right. It's Under the Rug. It's episode 12, I think. Something like that. And the title of it is What About the Fucking Weather? Well, actually, it's What About the Weather. I added the expletive, sorry. Neil, how you doing, brother?
I'm chirpy. You know, well,
Chirpy.
no, I'm more than chirpy. It's like there's been so much go on since we last did a podcast, and to me, you know, that for some people, depending on what seat they're looking at in the picture theatre, it could be doom and gloom, you know. But for us that are sitting watching this from a different angle, this is the most exciting part of the movie.
There's so it's. Oh, hold on. Looks like I've changed something here that I shouldn't have. Hold on.
We better check our sounds.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. How do we sound, guys, ladies, gentlemen? I according to the man, I'm really fucked that up. But anyway, that's I better lock that so I don't do it again. Let me do that. Done. Locked.
Don't fuck too much stuff, Andrew. Otherwise, people will start calling you Biden, and we don't want to go there.
There used to be a guy. And I'm sure this is probably on any work site, but there used to be a guy at the mine in Waihi, and his nickname was Frog. And I was like, Frog, okay. I was kind of young. I was like 15, 16. Well, why do they call him Frog? Why do they call him Frog? And I asked someone one day, why do they call him Frog? And they went, because he's fucking rough on gear. Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Frog, if you're watching, sorry. He's probably
I don't know whether I like this camera angle today. Folks, I'm at a different. We're actually house sitting, and tell you what a great way to travel the world. You can, and especially if you're sort of Kiwi or Australian, international people love us and our ability to keep a house tidy and look after pets. So,
what's
not
to love?
Travel the world.
We're lovable chaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
hang on a minute. I think I can see a flying pig. Oh, there.
Hey,
it's a balloon. It's a balloon.
Careful, they'll shoot it down like they shot the UFO down. Like they shot the UFO down. If you guys don't know about Project Bluebeam, go and check that out. I dare say it's probably what they used in 9/11 as well, but Project Bluebeam. It's yeah. Yes. Hey guys, so please let us know in the chat, in the comments, if you can hear us, what the levels are like for myself, for Neil. I've just adjusted Neil and brought him up a bit. I don't know if that's gonna put me out or not. I think my mic should be about the right level, but be good to have the feedback. I can see there's about 4 of us watching. Actually, I might be one of the 4. So hey, and if you're one of the 4, then there's 2 people watching. But that's all right. But yeah, coming back to what you said, man. We're getting close to the end of that movie. And it's none more obvious than what's been happening in the last week. I mean, to me, and guys, I pre-frame everything we say as our opinions. I don't know, opinions are like arseholes and armpits. They usually stink. Sometimes there's 2 of them. But there are opinions based on the research that we've done and the conclusions that we've drawn to, using the critical thinking that we've been given from this great universe. That said, everything is sort of winding up, isn't it? I mean, it seems like the cabal, the deep state, are getting incredibly desperate now. Their position is very tenuous. They're running out of money, which is quite obvious. All the banks that are going under that we've already spoken about on this platform, on this show. But now they're really, really pushing that climate change agenda, and that's all it is a freaking agenda. And I'm pretty sure we've touched on it before, but you know, now they really think people are fucking stupid, because now they're saying, oh my god, climate change could cause sudden death. Fuck off. When? Maybe if you got hit by a fucking meteor. What, because the sun's a little bit? No, come on. And if you're fucking stupid enough to believe that shit, oh my goodness, there's not much hope.
Well, did you see that post I put in earlier on the week with the monkeys?
I think I did.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like.
Are you talking about the 8th month where they introduced the monkeys to the cage?
Well, they had them in a room, in a containment area, I suppose.
Yeah. And there's a banana at the top of the ladder. Yeah.
A bunch of bananas at the top, and And when they all first went in there, one climbed up there to get to the top. And then what happened is it got halfway up, then this whole sprinkler system came on, and everybody else got wet. And they worked it out that every time you went up the ladder, everybody else would get wet. So what would happen is when every time a monkey climbed up the ladder, they'd all come and beat him up because nobody wanted to get wet. So
they beat the shit out of the monkey.
Yeah, so the bananas were there the whole time as the bananas were there as the whole time as the carrot. Get it right.
Yep, it's one of those days.
But well, that just goes to show how stupid everything is, doesn't it? But so they replaced one of the 8 monkeys with a new monkey. Of course, he's straight in there. Go, oh, bananas! Straight up the ladder. Boof! They all bloody jumped on him and pounded him. He's like, fucking hell, what did I do? And of course, every time he went to grab, they just pounded him. It's like, gee. So it got to the point where he wasn't going to climb up there anymore. He didn't want the beating. So then they replaced, put another monkey in, took one out, put another one in, and same thing. So the first monkey of the new ones that went in, he said, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't want a beating, but it was part of the beating. Eventually, they replaced all 8, and nobody. So when they put a new one in, nobody would go up the ladder for fear of getting a beating. And at the end of the day, the whole new 8 never knew why. They just didn't want the beating, and everybody was beating up on them. And so it's like that's an analogy of how over the centuries and that they have changed the way that we think and what we know and what we do.
100%. You can take that back to also what happened here in Australia, and to a lesser extent New Zealand, but it's still passed over. And it's why we have such a bad tall poppy culture here in Australia and in New Zealand. And you know this yourself. The second you start to get ahead, it's like the crabs in the bucket. They're going to fucking drag you back in. But what happened here in the convict lines is that if somebody fucked up in the chain gangs, it wasn't the convict that paid for it. It wasn't the person that made the mistake. It was the 2 people either side of him would get a beat down from the guards. So when that happened, all of a sudden, what would happen on the side of that? Well, obviously the 2 that got the beat down from the guards would in turn turn around and beat the shit out of the person that created the problem. So it got to the point where it wasn't the guards that were beating up the troublemaker, it was their own people. And that's where their whole tall poppy thing comes from. So it's that I saw something this morning, traditions is just peer pressure from dead people. I'm like, holy shit, that's so true. Yeah. That's so true. But that's that whole thing, right? That's the same process that you're talking about.
And so we're at a point in our journeys where, and as we recognise all of this, but it's like we don't need to try and convince all these other people. It's really in the too hard basket. It's now up to those individuals to wake up for themselves, and that's unfortunately the sad part about it.
On the flip side of that, Neil, you've also got to accept that some people are not going to wake up. Some people are not going to make it.
No.
And like, the UN released the UN. Oh my goodness. We could tell so many stories about the UN. But the UN released their sustainable figures in 2017, and they gave the figures that were 2017, and they gave the projected figures that were 2025, which is only 2 years away, guys. It's only 2 years away. And most of the population was reduced. I mean, I think in the States it was reduced by 70%, and it got further and further down. Even New Zealand, it's reduced by 25%. It's like, well, how the hell are you going to reduce that population? What are you going to do? Why do you need to reduce the population for a start? I mean, the Georgia Guidestones are gone now, so we don't have to follow them anymore. They've been destroyed. But how do you think they're going to achieve that reduction in population? Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but let's think about that logically for just a second. Over the last 3 years, we've been subjected to one of the biggest psyops, I believe, in the history of man. That's not an understatement. That's right there. It's not an overstatement either. So we've been exposed to that. And keep in mind those figures that we just spoke about. Population has been reduced by, I think the lowest was like 15%, something like that. So we go from 72% right down to 15%. Population's been reduced by that. By the year 2025. We take that information, and again, without putting words in your mouth, let's look at what's happened, or what is happening now over the last 3 years. All of a sudden, excess deaths are up, in some cases, 30% in some countries. It's 18% here in Australia. 18% just here in Australia, excess deaths per annum. Now, we put that into context, we think about that, and we go, oh, all of a sudden, we're starting to see that maybe that goal is achievable. And the cabal's rubbing their hands, the deep state are going, good, 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 we can have this planet for ourselves. Because the excess deaths are starting to mount up to the point where they will reach, or potentially will reach, that figure of population reduction. Now, I'm not a bright man. I don't think I'm reasonably intelligent. I guess, okay, I've got a reasonably high IQ. I didn't do good in school, but it doesn't take much to put two and two together and go, well, shit, what is new over the last 3 years? Well, there's only one thing that I can see, and that what could be contributing to these deaths. But no, let's take it a step back. This is what the cabal and the deep state want. Let's take it a step back, and they're going, it's climate change.
Oh, jeepers. That's like, was that a joke? Were you trying to tell a joke?
Yeah, sorry, that was the punchline.
Punchline?
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, hang on, there's a weather balloon. There's a balloon flying over. Hang on. Yeah. It's just, if you look at, and you talk about population control, so the reasoning, but the real reasoning behind it, and they'll throw all the other palaver at you and the bullshit.
Of course.
So the thing is that it's getting too big for them to be able to maintain control.
Oh, absolutely.
That's it in a nutshell. It's about maintaining us control with that. They just farm us for their own nefarious needs. We are livestock, but we're probably the best livestock in this whole universe.
Yeah, 100%.
This whole galaxy and everything, which is why there's so many eyes upon us and everything that's going on. And it's the good guys that are rooting for us to win whatever's going on, to come out on the other side. They've been trying to get rid of us for centuries,
millennia,
longer.
Here's the other thing
unique
with that.
about us.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing with that. I'm pretty sure we've touched on this before, is that it only takes a certain percentage of people to create the change. Now, just what do you guys let us know in the chat? What do you think that percentage is? And we'll come back to it in a minute. But it takes a certain percentage of people for the change to take effect. Now, I believe we've actually already reached that. I'll call it a critical mass. I don't know that if that is the critical mass theory or not. That's just something that came to my mind while I was saying that. I don't know if that is the critical mass theory, but there is a critical mass that once reached can never ever go back to what it was. It's like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that you created it. Well, it's the same thing. Once that critical mass is reached, we can't go back. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. Too many people have seen. And more things are starting to come out in mainstream media. I mean, look, they're trying to vilify Kelly Slater, the greatest surfer that has ever lived. What is he, 9-time world champion? And he's still winning competitions in his 50s. Most surfers have retired in their 30s, 40s at the latest. Now he's still going strong. He's still in prime condition. To look at him, you wouldn't think that he's 50. You'd think that he's still in his 30s, 40s at best. But all of a sudden, he's a cooker. That's what that's what mainstream media are calling him. And Pat Cash, because they appeared on Graham Hood's show. Athletes talking out about the bullshit that's gone on in the last 3 years. Even Eric Clapton now, who's been twice shot, right? We'll just put it that way. He's come out and saying, Why? No. Even Karl Stefanovic here in Australia on daytime news, he's like, I don't agree with a fifth shot because people are already dying. What? They haven't done any good. They're not effective. They're clearly not fucking safe. Why are we still putting this poison into people? So you've only got to look at people like that, Karl Stefanovic, who is in the mainstream, but Kelly Slater, Pat Cash, who are sporting champions, Nokovic for another one, although some people say that he could be women controlled opposition, so the time will tell with that. But you look at that; these people that have done things with their lives, they're not slugs, and all of a sudden they're being vilified for their beliefs. Surely that has to ring some alarm bells. Surely.
But I think you and I touched on this throughout the last couple of weeks, but they're pushing the fifth shot. There's too much sudden death going on now at the third and fourth shot. So I don't think that the amount of population left to get the fifth shot, there's probably not many. If you got the fourth shot, you've got to be just about on your deathbed anyway. The fifth shot's certainly going to put you away. But I don't think there's many people that have actually followed the correct sheep maneuvers
protocol
into that fifth shot. What? Am I frozen?
No, I said protocol. I was following what you said. Protocol.
Yeah. So I don't think the numbers. Well, I so many people now that are not necessarily awake, but are not having their third and fourth shot. So getting through to their fifth, like there's too much information coming out now along those lines.
I mean, sorry, go.
Well, it's taking shots, and I was just going to get onto the egg thing. Apparently, there's nutrition within the eggs that might be able to stop the spike protein or something like that.
Is that why the egg processing plants have been attacked?
I think that's a twofold thing on that. Those battery hens are not living a very happy life, and although that's all that they know, so I think to get rid of the concentrated farming is not good moving forwards. It's not healthy, but also with the eggs and the nutrition in the eggs, an egg is good for you. I'll never forget. And
an egg is good for
my
you.
doctor. Well, my doctor said to me, because you talk about cholesterol, right? You get to my age, my doctor says he wants to test me for get a blood test and get to these 10 different things that males suffer from later on in life. And obviously one of the big things in there was cholesterol. So I was doing at that point, I think it was the Atkins diet. I got into it and did extremely well on it. And he said my cholesterol level was up at 6 or something and I needed to come down. And I said, well, I'm just going to eat all these eggs. Well, no, you can't eat eggs. No, that's not. It's going to send it the other way. Boy, did I show him wrong.
Yeah.
I was eating
6, bro. Yours was low.
It's like four eggs a day, 2 in the morning and sort of 2 later on. But I just have them, I got that bloody savage on. I just drink them raw out of the cups. It's where you get all the best nutrition.
Yeah, I remember
If you think about an egg, though, I mean, egg was going to be a living being or a living thing. So it had all the vital it's got all the vital nutrient in it that supports life. So, you can see
absolutely.
the information around, all the sort of news around that and what it's doing, that, eggs possibly, without, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but just makes logical sense to me.
Yep. I mean, you talk about cholesterol. I've had high cholesterol all my life. So, and there's so many differing articles about whether it's good, whether it's bad, and look, I know we've said it. You and I have definitely said it to each other. I do not trust the mainstream medical fraternity one iota, and I didn't trust them 100%. Like I might have had a little bit of trust in them before 2020. I have fucking zero in them now. None. None. I think I remember reading a post from a doctor, and he was retired, and he said, for all my years, and he gave all his credentials of this, that, the other, and doctor. What I've found, the best way to live a long and healthy life is to avoid going to the doctor. I was like, well, isn't that an indictment on the medical fraternity? I was like, yep, no, I'm with that. That's me. I don't go to doctors. Just no.
You remember back to the day when they used to say an apple a day kept the doctor away?
Yeah.
But they had to take that down. Well, they took it down. Why? I think it was probably because they introduced pesticides.
Yeah, it's going to send you to the doctor instead.
Oh, yeah. Jeepers. Just the bullshit with it. Now, we're not kicking every doctor. I mean, I think when you go into A&E and you've got people that have got breaks, they've broken something, fallen over, or they need sort of stitching up, there's that positive element to all of that to get people back up. and running again. But certainly of the last 3 years and all this bullshit that's just been brought upon all of that fraternity, and I feel really sorry for a lot of them because, they're responsible for following through these orders, which is not going to see them very, very fit.
It's not. And I made a post last week about, the media and medical fraternity just following orders is not going to be an excuse. It wasn't an excuse in Nuremberg, and we've spoken about that before. And whether people realize it or not, we've already said this too. Nuremberg 2.0 is already underway. It's already happening. There's already been an execution because of it. Okay, so let's not kid ourselves, but let's also not kid ourselves about what happened in Nuremberg at that time. It wasn't. Okay, yes, there was a couple of token high-ranking officials that got done, like Goering and there was a couple of others. Himmler took his own life, I think. No, that was Goebbels. So Goering and Himmler. But it was mostly reporters and medical fraternity, like nurses, doctors, that were just following orders. They're the ones that got taken out because the rest of them got sent to the States. But, you've only got to look at that to go, well, there's no hiding. The reckoning is coming.
Yeah.
And as much as there's good people that are in those fields, being a good order follower doesn't make it right. There are good people with great intentions, but discernment was lacking greatly. Discernment was lacking greatly.
Yeah. And when you talk about, they know who they all are, and it's taken modern technology and the NSA, the form of communication that we have today. And everybody has had, that's how we all live our lives these days. Our kids more so than us.
Yep.
Or maybe not.
Totally.
But it's like everything is collated. I think that's the biggest project that the NSA, that's what their job and what they do in there, connected around all the Five Eyes around the world. It's like, this has been, they know exactly what we're talking about here and being calculated,
I love the fact that apparatus that they set up is the same apparatus that's being used to take them down.
Yep, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, and so there's no hiding. They have it all.
Yep. Which is exactly what Trump said on his world tour. We have it all.
Yeah.
Either capitulate or take your chances with the mob. Hey, so let's get back to our topic. Whether I want to share something with everyone. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but I'm going to share it with you now. It's about 3 minutes.
The Senate committee will now hear from Jacob Lawson, Climate ISS Chief Coordinator. May the record reflect that he was nearly 1 hour late.
Yeah, sorry about that. I literally had to fly in from outer space.
Thanks to a system of satellites, natural disasters have become a thing of the past. We can control our weather.
Mr. President, one of our thermospheric...
That's the first point I want to get to. We can control our weather. This is not science fiction. This is not just in a movie. What this is called is Full Disclosure. Now, this movie came out in about 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. But this is what's called Full Disclosure. So let's continue watching.
Bearing in mind...
Yep.
Bearing in mind, they have to tell us everything that they're going to do before they do it. Think about the train wreck in Ohio right now as well. Carry on, sorry.
It's all right.
Lights malfunctioned over Afghanistan.
So your proposal is what?
We shut down all satellites.
I don't need to remind all of you how many people died from catastrophic climate conditions.
Make sure there's no further incidents.
Okay, that's called conditioning. That's programming and conditioning. I don't want to remind you. Don't want to have to remind you all of how many people died from our climate conditions, guys. What this movie? I don't know if I'll say that now. I'll come back to it. I'll say it now just in case I forget. What this movie is trying to program into people is that the climate's bad. We're using weather manipulation to fix it, when the fucking opposite is actually what is happening.
I'm coming back. I
promise.
Have a safe trip, sir.
Just don't touch anything.
Main engine start.
This is Mr. Jake Lawson.
The Jake Lawson?
You look much older than I would have thought. I mean, you look good. Am I getting fired?
My access has been blocked.
So satellite has a bad comm, that happens.
Not a satellite. All of them.
This wasn't a malfunction. It was intentional.
This wasn't a malfunction. This was intentional. Keep those thoughts in mind right now. Well, after we've finished this.
There's potential for catastrophic weather events on a global scale.
A geostorm. We have to shut the system down.
Now, I'm not sure if anyone picked up on a geostorm. It was around this time that they coined the phrase geoengineering. That's when you started seeing it more in mainstream. And that was to combat the fact that there was so much information, true, accurate information out there in the marketplace or out there in the web, in the whole webosphere, pointing to weather manipulation, to chemtrails. And I know of them, and I know people that may or may not watch this or that I'm connected with through Air Force Days who think that I'm crazy for saying that there are chemtrails. I don't give a shit. There are. And there's patents for this shit. And I'm going to show you another patent in a second too, because it's going to lead to my point about something that's happened recently. But guys, that term is being put out there like from movies like this, so people go, oh, well, that's just because they're fixing the weather. No, they're not. They're fucking the weather.
Yeah.
The only one who has the kill codes is the president.
I need your help.
You're soliciting a Secret Service agent. Seriously? We're kidnapping the president in a self-driving cab.
Jake, if you can't stop it, no one can.
3, 2, 1. Come on, baby.
You realize you're committing treason?
Oh, yeah, I kidnapped the president. I've stolen state secrets. Yeah, anything I'm forgetting, honey?
Honey.
Marry her.
Oh, so what's that doing, guys? That there is literally creating fear. That's what it's doing. It's driving the fear amongst people to go, oh, yeah, there's all this cataclysmic shit that's going on in the world, and our governments are going to look after us and make sure that we're okay because they're going to manipulate the weather so that shit doesn't happen. Ba-bow.
There was something extra, probably a little bit off topic, that I picked up on that. Cause I haven't seen that. It's the first time I've seen that. I didn't know Andrew was going to play that. But if you notice that there were buildings actually collapsing. Now, they weren't going straight down. They were actually collapsing that way. And that just reminded me of, and my heart really goes out to all the thousands of people that have perished in Turkey and Syria.
Yeah. But
there's been clips come through there of buildings going straight down. So it's like that there's more to that story than meets the damn eye. It's like it's a controlled demolition. The whole thing's appears to be manipulated on a level way above anybody I know's pay grade, probably above that. It's like it's crazy.
And what's the timing of that, Neil? Let's look at the timing of that. It came only weeks, days maybe, after after Turkey announced that they were going to leave NATO.
Yep.
I mean, by now, anyone that's been watching this for a while I don't believe in coincidence. There's no such friggin' thing. Maybe once upon a time I did, when I believed in fairies too, and Santa and all that sort of shit.
The other thing I picked up off of that was at the very beginning, it kind of had almost like these tablets that are being released from space into the cloud system.
Capsules.
Now, I just watched a gentleman that's predicted this massive cyclone Gabriel come over and smash New Zealand. Fucking assholes, that he was able to prove without a doubt with his ability to read these maps, and he calls them weather bombs. Look, they're bombing this, they're bombing it. It's like when you show that thing of these, because it's like, how do they do that? You know, it's got to be so much turbulence in there to be flying around in. Yeah, they've got the planes and they're doing all that, but is it coming from the satellite systems down? That everybody's got this thing. It's just like, you know, they can manipulate and do whatever they want. But the amount of water, the amount of destruction that happened here in New Zealand, and I've heard people say, oh, look at the power of Mother Nature. That ain't, yes, that's Mother Nature, but she's been fucking manipulated by man-made shit. So what the fuck is going on? And of course, that's a distraction, right?
Hey,
so everybody's looking at that. Poor New Zealand, poor New Zealand. What's really going on that they're distracting us from? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Well, there was the release of the client list from Epstein. There was that. That was going on.
Yeah, but in the channels, in the Telegram channels, though, I've not seen much come through about New Zealand and what's going on there compared to the stuff that's happening with the
East
UFO, the train derailments and all that sort of stuff. There's more disruption going on around the US regions than sort of down here. So to me, that's sort of something that's happening in our own neck of the woods to distract the people or whatever down here. But what that is, I don't know. I know that they're trying to bring through change legislation on our vitamin industry or our health industry. They're trying to basically take that away from us. There's so much stuff. I mean, Jacinda just rescinded, same thing. Incinerated. Jacinda incinerated a few weeks ago. And it's like, somebody said, was that a parting gift from her? It's like, you just don't know. I mean, we've had the Waitangi, Treaty of Waitangi so-called celebration week. Here, as I kind of get more into that, it's not really. It's about paying the owners the ability to still control the narrative or the countries. It's got to have financial stuff. So whether there's anything in the envelopes.
She wasn't crying because she was leaving office. She was crying because she knew she had a one-way ticket to Gitmo.
Yeah. Giddy up, as you'd say.
So let's have a quick look at this. Just on what Neil was just talking about. Look at this. Hurricane and tornado control device. This is a patent in the US. So this is basically, the background of the invention. It's a machine that creates, and all you need to do is search for them in hurricane patent and it will come up. You can see up there, patents.google. So it's the US patent. This is a machine that creates hurricanes. Wow. As one would say, right? Why do you need a machine to create a hurricane? What are you going to do with a machine that creates a hurricane? Honestly, what do you fucking need that for?
Tell me any hurricane you've ever seen on the planet, how it's done good. Zero.
Has there been any taking any out any big world leaders from the cabal? Because then I might go, it was good. But no, they're never anywhere near it.
Well,
I want to share something else real quick too. Have a look at this.
This is a man-made cloud, ladies and gentlemen, and these pictures I took myself over Northern California, and this is a burst. This is where a jet left a huge plume, and then this turned in at the end of it to a burst, and this is not normal, never seen before in our county historically, and I was born and raised there. This is another picture showing the jet trail just before the burst. This is our skies, and I want you to know that what you're seeing now, a lot of times many scientists know, especially at NASA and in other areas, that the skies that we're seeing are not normal cloud formations. These are man-made. And what happens as we reduce the amount of sunlight in a form of global dimming, we reduce the solar power with these type of clouds, and we reduce photosynthesis, which is going to impact agriculture. The pictures look odd. The formations don't look like normal clouds that people have seen before historically. This is another type of man-made cloud, and what we have done and what you're seeing here is we have the photographs from the times that the jet leaves the first trail as a thin, spindly trail to where they form into these different types of cloud formations. All of you can start looking up and seeing this. What happens is that...
we can all look up and see that, but what that's saying is that's confirming that chemtrails are real. She's very diplomatic at the start of that. You can go and watch that. That's freely available on YouTube. It's about 17, 18 minutes. And she says about how the jet contrails turn into clouds. Well, it's not. They're not contrails. They are deliberately sprayed out of the back of fucking aircraft. But beryllium, I was never any good at the periodic table, but aluminium's in there, selenium, all it's just sprayed over us. And it was not that long ago that I got out the back and I got the gurney out the back and I cleaned up our concrete, and it was schmick. It was beautiful and white. And within months, it was black again. That doesn't happen from normal rain. Not unless there's shit coming down in it.
Oh, I saw. Have we spoken since I've been to New Plymouth for the weekend?
Yes.
So
on here? Don't think so.
Yeah. So when we were there, it's a beautiful blue, sunny day, and I saw this plane coming across, and it dropped a chemtrail. I guess it looked probably maybe, well, I don't know the distance from down here. It could have been a couple of miles from the distance that I was seeing it. And you could see it. It just went psh, and then stopped and carried on. And for some, and I like, you could see it. It didn't disappear. It just sat there and it did its thing. You know what they do. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure if it was the same day. It was probably the same day, maybe an hour or two later. But I looked up in the same spot, and it was almost the exact duplication of what I'd seen prior. Now, when I thought about it, I'm like, did I just see a time loop? Did I just see the same thing twice? Because I swear you not, it was identical. I'm like, what the fuck just happened there? Now, I wasn't with anybody I could have that conversation with apart from you and you guys here and here now. It's like, holy shit, that just opens another whole can of worms. Now, I'm either loopy and didn't see what I saw, or I did see what I saw, but what did I see? Here we're starting to see people question basketball players or teams of players working in sync together. It's almost like they're robots running off the one person, duplicating exactly the same thing. It's this just getting weirder by the fucking day, weirder and weirder and weirder.
Yeah, well, there's the dude come out from the NFL a couple of weeks ago, remember? And I don't know. I need to investigate it further, but on the surface, it kind of looks like what he's saying could be correct. Is that at the start of the season, each of the teams and each of the players are all handed a script and said, "This is how the season will play out," and they play out the season. This is when This is when your career will end. This is when you're going to have an injury. That's not inconceivable. It's not inconceivable at all. It's sad. It's a sad indictment, but it's not inconceivable that they would do it. I mean, look at the shit that they've done just in my lifetime.
If you look at the amount of money in those top sports that and you rightly called it one of the other times, they're gladiator sports. Right?
Absolutely, that's exactly what they are. Bread and
but
circus.
if you look at the amount of money that goes into those sports to manipulate the audience, to keep them under control. Wow, I mean, we're hearing
not just that though, Neil. Not just that. In a capitalistic world which we live in, I'm not against capitalism at all. So don't get me wrong. I'm against crony capitalism, and I heard that phrase from Alan Nelson. So thank you, bro. I'm against that sort of shit. I'm all for free enterprise. I think that's great, and I think if you've got a skill that you could go out and market and earn enough money for your family to have a great life, then I think you should absolutely be doing that. But this capitalistic world in which we live, the reason they are paid so highly in that gladiator sport, in that arena, the Colosseum, is because that then encourages our younger generation to aspire to be like them. Oh, I could go for the NFL and I'll have it made. I'll get a contract of $10 million a year and I'll get all these endorsements, or the NBA or whatever. Here in Australia, the NRL. Professionalism in sport, particularly rugby, it's not that new. I mean, it's not that old, rather. It's since 30 years. I'm aging myself now. About 1994, there was the debate around professionalism around sport, and that's about when New Zealand rugby sort of went into that professional era. And I mean, I know David Campese, even though I know him from the yesteryear of rugby, he played in the early years of professionalism in rugby. But that's why they do it, is because it targets those people and it's go, I'm just going to do that and I'll have it made. When realistically, just like network marketing, 90% of the people never ever make it.
Yeah, probably more.
Yeah, exactly.
Just following the dream, but what's up there is the end product. I've heard some stuff on that. The American, the NFL. That's
friends left.
Yeah, well, I think that's just an evil thing that happens at that thing where they've captured the majority of the American populace for their grand finals.
You're talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but the other thing too is like so if you look at change and the right people coming in doing the right things, I don't know. I think Elon Musk is certainly not the person he used to be. He's a much better person now than he was originally. Now, how that's come about, I don't know. But by him buying, or it's not even him, but someone wearing a mask that looks like him.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, but with that whole narrative around Twitter and what he's done, we've got the Twitter files and all that. But I read somewhere the other day to talk about coming back to sports. He's looking at buying Man U. Manchester United.
Well,
so it's like
there was a whole heap of bullshit come out about Man U as well because it went,
Well,
I can't remember the full story on that. The owners of it were pretty sure they had Khazarian connections.
Oh, well, then you're linking everything up just by saying that, aren't you? You're linking everything because all that stuff goes into Turkey, Syria, Back,
well, here's something interesting. Here's a little bit of conversation that I had recently, and when I say conversation, it was written. It wasn't verbal. With all the coming back to what I was saying before about the patent for a hurricane machine. Who needs a hurricane machine? Well, those that would cause harm on others. Unfortunately, New Zealand has been. I believe. This is my opinion. I believe New Zealand has been a victim to that machine, to that patent. I can see the weather here manipulated on a daily basis. I can see the chemtrails in the sky. I can see when they're seeding, and I'll show you another article on seeding in a second, it's a Wikipedia article, so it's probably not, it'll have all it'll be loosely based on truth, but it'll have some shit that's not quite right. But you can go and read about it for yourself. So I've seen the cloud seeding. I've seen it in New Zealand when I've gone home. But New Zealand, in my belief, was just victim to a weather attack. It wasn't natural. There was nothing natural about it, and it was not. I was going to say it's not man-made. It is. It was man-made, but not in the way that society would like you to think. It wasn't from our actions over the last 100 years. That has nothing to do with it. It's from the fact that someone pushed the button and went, we're going to do this here. They did the same thing through the tropics that supposedly hit Florida a couple of years ago. When you talk to the Floridians, I don't know if that's how you say it, they'll go, no, nothing happened here. But what did get taken out was all the tax havens in the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, however you say it. I know there's two sides to that coin. I say Caribbean, sometimes I say Caribbean. But guys, all the tax havens were taken out. That was a man-made hurricane. The same thing happened in New Zealand over the last 3 weeks. Let's be honest. The first one that hit Auckland, that was just hey, get ready. We're about to fuck you up. And the second one was the second wave. It was like the second wave coming into Pearl Harbor. But that's exactly what it was. And when it happened, I said to my sister, we've got a group on Facebook Messenger. I said, watch out for the earthquake. There'll be an earthquake after this, and it was because I'd watched that video that you sent me, Neil. And you're right. He it's hard to listen to him, but he talks fucking truth. He knows what he's talking about, and he's predicted everything. Yeah. And he said, watch for the earthquake afterwards. So I essentially rabbited what he said, and I said to Sarah, said to my sister Krista, I said, watch for the earthquake after this event in New Zealand. And what happened last night? Neil, what happened in New Zealand last night?
There was a 6.1 earthquake, 50 kilometres off the west coast, just around Paraparaumu. It was 72 kilometres deep. And it was enough to be felt down Wellington. I'm not sure how deep into Wellington, back out there at the back of Wainuiomata. But there's a graphic that's come out, and it's pretty much from that centre point, you've got all the way up to New Plymouth, right round the west coast down to Wellington, and then the top of the North Island, Kaikoura, and that whole area there. So, and there's a bunch of aftershocks. So, and a lot of that was, when you look at the weather forecast and the potential of the earthquake coming from that, when the guy was actually reading the weather, he can see these electronic bursts coming from centers within the country. That earthquake was potentially created out of Blenheim, of all places. Now, what technology is down there to be able to do that? What sort of energy is required? I don't know. It might be interesting to go and look at the power grids around those timeframes and see if there's a
spike.
There's a spike in energy used at those times. So it's like,
I think you find the wood. And the more you look into that, Neil, the more you look into that technology, because there is seismic machines that can create that. I mean, I can't remember what year it was, but let's go back to Kaikoura 6-7 years ago, and there was a seismic testing ship that was off New Zealand, and it just happened to be off the coast of Kaikoura the morning that happened. Well, hold on, isn't that just a little bit coincidental? It's far too coincidental for me. Well, let's look at what was happening in Kaikoura. Well, somebody wanted some of the land there, and the landowners weren't giving it up. Okay, we'll just fuck you up instead. That's what they do. That's exactly what they do.
That same coincidence, and I can't remember the name. I read it only the other day. If you'd read it, you'd remember it. I know, Andrew, but it's like it was somewhere in the States. The exact same scenario, same vessel, and earthquake stuff going on. That caused a sizable earthquake. I can't remember what coast it was, but it might not have even been the States. It might have been somewhere else. You then have to go and ask the question about Fukushima. What?
Well, it's funny
really
you say
there.
that, because I was going to lead into that. Yeah.
It's nothing in this world is
as
natural in what it seems.
Yeah, it's nothing as it seems. It's exactly right. And I've told my kids, and it's coming back to bite me in the ass right now. But anyway, I've told my kids since they were young, question everything. What I should have been was more specific and say, question everything except me. Dad, why are we doing this? Because I said so. But that's no, I need to know why. Damn it.
I wish there's my kids' generation and your kids. There's about 10 years apart, and I think it's my kids' generation that lost to that system or narrative. And actually, interesting. I was talking with my sister, and I'm hoping she's watching. Monique, my sister, she's a very wide awake person. Had a great conversation with you earlier today, but with our children, and I think they are awake. Because they've been brought into that area where they've got that ability to think that just to us, but with the way they've been educated is not to question, and the ridicule that comes from questioning. So they're awake and they're kind of they sort of listen to mum and dad and what we're saying, but they don't want to agree with it and accept it, because of how it could influence them and work against them in their own circles. They just want to have fun, go to work or whatever, go party them and do their thing. They just don't want to have this stress in their lives. They don't. It's like,
and sadly, bro, that's exactly why those let's call them in New Zealand and Australia. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, New Zealand and Australia, the drinking age is 18. So that means at 18 years of age you can go to the pubs. So sadly. In the last couple of years, it was you couldn't go to a pub unless you'd had the clot shot. So sadly, a lot of those 18, 19, 20-year-olds who probably knew better let their emotion get the better of them and go, no, I need to go out with my friends, not realizing that it was only going to be temporary. And sadly, our eldest did, even though despite the fact that she claims she's awake and aware, She did. And we said, well, why? It's going to change. It's only going to be a matter of months and everyone will be able to go. She goes, it'll never be like that. Well, sure enough, in a matter of months, we could go and do whatever the fuck we like. And she goes, I should have listened to you. No shit. Yeah. But, they've got to make their own decisions too.
Yeah. I'm proud to say I've got one daughter that stood her ground. And to be honest, she's probably the quieter, more shy of my daughters. And and the one with, and if it's who I'm thinking of, and I'm pretty sure it is, it's the one with the most to lose. Oh, the conversations we had. Yeah. Yep. But it was devastating for her. Yeah. I'm going to miss out on this. I'm going to miss out on this tournament. I'm going to miss all this. Hey, where is she now? Hold the ground.
White Sox, baby!
Yeah, I'm so proud of her.
Me too.
But it's like, you know, all these things that she thought she was going to miss out on, they never went and played them anyway. She never missed out on a thing. Stood her ground, put up with a bit of the ridicule. Although I'm saying that her team actually supported her and played around her, you know, made the things so that she could play in certain tournaments. She certainly couldn't play on them, couldn't do any of the national stuff. But like for her to come from her background or her personality to put herself through that and stand the ground, man, I'll take my hat off to her. There's not very many of them that have done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the others are awake, but just to that extent, putting herself out there, more of those will come.
Yeah, well, and coming back to, it's a great segue back into, nobody's put it in the chat, so either you don't know or you don't care to put it in the chat, which is fine, and you can't, there's no problem. But the critical mass that we're talking about is 25%. Once we reach 25% of the people that are talking about it, there's no going back, and we are past that. Yeah. Despite what I don't want...
narrative?
Despite what... No, I was going to say the narrative. It wasn't... I was going to say, despite what that the shot figures say, it's nowhere near that high, I don't believe. And even of that, there's now a very high percentage of those people that 100% regret taking it for a start, know that it's bullshit and are now questioning even more. Now, they will end up being the biggest advocates that we have because they're going to end up fucked. And I don't wish ill on those people. They did things with a lot
coerced.
of them, coercion. Under coercion, and thinking they were doing the right thing by everyone because, you know, they were shamed into doing something. And let's face it, the media was relentless in shaming people that wouldn't do it. Karl Sefconovic, we talked about him before. He was one of those people that were shaming people, and now he's going, you wouldn't be catching me getting another one. Okay, what have they got over you, Karl?
Yeah. So there's still a percentage of them out there pushing it, and their days are numbered. Everything's numbered. You know, and all of us here have to have recognised or felt a shift, and it appears to be getting worse. And the worse it gets, we can't say worser because there's no such word in the alphabet or dictionary that says worser. So it's getting worse. And you know, it's like I've had lots of conversations, and it's like, and we sort of talk in depth about all these sorts of things. And you know, I still maintain to this day that this whole thing that's going on is about control, and we're in the process of the change of control, and the control over humanity. And the main way that they control us these days is through the financial systems.
Yeah, and even that's dying.
Yeah, that's what's happening here. You know, if they're distracting us with all these other things, is that because we are nearing the end of the old financial system?
Well, I think there's plenty of evidence coming out, and guys, if you haven't seen the evidence, that's okay. It comes through a lot of the Telegram groups that Neil and I are in. But there's plenty of evidence coming out to show that was it First National Bank of, where was that the other day that come out and they said, yeah, we're now. Can you remember where it was?
Carry on what you were saying.
I was saying that they'd come March, could even be the 1st of March. They're implementing the ISO 20022 protocols. That's it. They will be 100% into that. And I think we've mentioned before that there's a bank in the States. I think it might have been Citibank. Internally, they've already rebranded and they're called Stellar Bank. So, you know, there's definitely things happening. So what people need to understand, I guess, at this late stage in the game, there's still a few plays to run through. I think it's been likened to the game of chess that even when, like, if you know you're going to win chess, the masters, they know they've won it 3 or 4 moves before the game's actually finished. Yet, out of courtesy, they still play the game out, which is exactly where we are right now. I believe that. We can see the destruction. I mean, under Jassara, we've spoken about Jassara before. It says that governments were reduced by 90%. Awesome, because they're bloated and bureaucratic anyway, and there's a lot of red tape and a lot of bullshit. It also says that there'll be no wars, that we'll be living in peace. So that means there's got to be a whole heap of destruction of military equipment. Well, what are all the allies doing at the moment? What are all the NATO allies doing at the moment? I mean, even the non-ally NATO allies here, like in Australia, right? They're sending equipment to the Ukraine. Well, what's happening there? Russia is blowing the shit out of it. They ain't getting any of that shit back. So you sort of start to go, well, yeah, that could be that. It could be something completely different, but I don't think that it is, personally. So you've only got to look at all these little things, the little things that are happening, little truth bombs starting to come out in the media, disclosure about certain things. Obviously, we've spoken about the JFK files that have been released, and that the CIA was implicit in his assassination, which is there in black and white. And in those JFK files, it also talks about Hitler being shuttled off to Argentina before he died. He didn't commit suicide in his bunker. There's a whole heap of controversy about that for years. But all of these things are starting to come to the surface. And all the little skirmishes you see, like the unfortunate thing that's going on in East Palestine, Ohio, with the train incident. Now, that's something incredibly serious, but it's being completely blacked out by the media. You've got to ask yourself why. But that is in direct correlation with what is going on with the death throes, and that's what I'll call it, the death throes of the cabal.
Well, they're, and I guess we have to understand that these guys are running out of ammo. They're running out of money, which means they're running out of ammo. We have to know that all the heads are gone, so it's just the sort of minnows that are running around with what they've got left. So they don't have any. No
direction.
They don't have any order. Yeah, so they're just. And of course, the thing is that they hate us. They hate us with all their core, from the core.
Well, they call them the Goyim. That's in the Zionist manifesto. Useless eaters.
So they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. So if they're going to go out, they're going to go out with as big a bang as they can, and they're going to take as many of us with them as possible. So we still need to be vigilant on everything that's going around us, because they have these blooming, what are they called? They're like people that are mind controlled, sleepers. There's so many sleepers out there that don't even know what their job is. They'll be, it's like there's just something that triggers them, and they'll, people that, so we still have to be mindful on all levels. And the thing, and what I say to all of that is to keep our vibrations high.
100%.
Don't get yourselves into low vibration situations. Walk away from them. We had an incident here in the Mount the other weekend, where was the local gang do their normal weekend ride through town, which is just basically intimidating on all levels. And they just cut right in front of us, decided they were going into the park on the left. They sort of cut across, drove over the pedestrian crossing. So my partner sort of edged forwards into that to just say, I'm not scared of these wankers. Well, these guys, it just sparked them. They just were driving around the car, but somebody kicked the car, and it was really quite terrifying. So it's like there was no need to provoke any of that. Don't do it. Keep your vibration high, and we'll get through this. But we just never know who could just, what drugs they're on, or what narrative that they've been fed, and all those sorts of things. So don't poke it. Right now is to beer. Yeah, stay healthy, keep your vibration high, and just know your own truth that you're in the right place, but we're doing the right things, and that good guys, we're part of the good guys. So our role comes after the shit is to help everybody, rebuild this place.
Absolutely. I did have something else to share, but I'm looking at the time and I don't need to share it because we're going to end this on a high. So, guys, I've been testing a little bit of new technology that we're going to talk about next week. It's definitely it's pretty outstanding, and it's along the lines of frequency and resonance healing, which I believe you've already heard me talk about it. I believe that particularly if you're at our workshop that we did at the end of last year, I believe that has the ability to heal any ailment that you may or may not be having, and I've noticed a massive increase in energy. And just presence since using it. I totally forgot that I'd used it, and I was putting it down to all these other things. And then Sarah said to me, "Oh, Marnie said to ask me how you're," and I was like, "Oh, of course, that's exactly why I'm feeling so good." So we're gonna share that and what that means for everyone over the next little while, because everything is energy. Einstein said it. Everything is energy. And if you get the chance, go and make sure that you have Michael Tellinger's channel, that you're subscribed to his channel on YouTube, because the information that guy has is just absolutely phenomenal. And just he's not the only one. There's another channel called Be Inspired, but you take that with a little bit with a grain of salt, because he's still kind of mainstream, but there's still some really, really good information on it. He features Michael Tellinger quite a bit.
Yeah, this I guess we sort of talk about all the sort of global, international global narratives and everything that's going on, but there's so much other good stuff that's going on as well, and technologies that are coming out that are going to be beneficial for us. So yeah, we have a really, really exciting world, to look forward to as more and more of this stuff comes to light. So I'm actually excited to get our head around a little bit more of that. Andrew and I have talked a little bit off screen about that, and I'm going, oh my God, if that does what you're saying that it does, which is literally a doctor in your hand that can self-diagnose you, and then adjust your frequencies. I'm like, I want to know more. So Andrew's enjoying the fruits of that at the moment, and I'm looking forward to getting my head around that myself, because that's something that we all need. Because we can't trust the existing medical profession out there at the moment.
No.
And something that we can rely on that's going to diagnose and heal what needs to be done. So looking forward to that, Andrew.
Absolutely. On that note, it is the bottom of the hour. In fact, it's just passed. So, guys, next week we will probably, if things go well, if I get my all my shit in one sock, we will be back on YouTube, but not on my channel. We'll have our own Under the Rug channel, because all those videos are still up. So seemingly it's good. We'll continue that way until it's not. Because we get a better interaction from you guys. It means we can talk to you a little bit more, a little bit easier. So look for us on YouTube. The link will still be on my Facebook page, and I'm sure it'll be on Neil's Facebook page as well. And just come have some fun, hang out, and we'll be back Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time next week. Thank you, Neil, for being with me. Thank you, all you beautiful people, for sticking with us for the last hour. And we'll see you next week. Go out and be amazing.
See you guys. Yeah, love you guys. See you soon.
Ka kite anō.